All right, we're about to dive into one of the most insidious forms of warfare you can possibly imagine. This is a secret war, and it's not fought with giant armies or massive bombs. Nope, it's fought in the quiet moments before a battle, and it targets the one thing a soldier has to have: trust in their own weapon. Just let that sink in for a second. Imagine you're in the middle of a firefight. You pull the trigger, and instead of saving your life, your own rifle turns on you. It is a genuinely terrifying thought. And believe it or not, it's been a very real weapon of war for a long, long time. So, let's start with this really strange image from the Soviet-Afghan War. Picture this. You've got Soviet soldiers huddled around a campfire, high up in the freezing mountains. But they're not making coffee or soup. They're staring into a pot that's filled with their own rifle bullets, just boiling away in the water. What on earth were they doing? Well, this bizarre little ritual was all based on a theory of sabotage. It was supposed to be this incredibly clever trick to secretly disarm their enemies, the Mujahideen. The plan sounds simple enough, right? You boil the bullets, which they thought would kill the primer inside, then you just had to get those dud rounds into enemy hands. So when a Mujahideen fighter goes to fire his rifle, all he gets is a click. It's a perfect, silent way to take an enemy out of the fight at the most critical moment. Sounds pretty brilliant, doesn't it?
Yeah, except it didn't work. At all. Turns out modern ammunition is incredibly tough. You can boil it all day long and it'll do absolutely nothing. The whole thing was a total waste of time, just a legend based on some really bad science. But the idea was very, very real.
And that's what's so fascinating here. You can see the contrast. While the Soviets were busy boiling bullets that didn't do anything, the Americans over in Vietnam were perfecting a far more sinister technique. It was called Project Eldest Son, and their goal wasn't just to make the enemy's rifle fail to fire. It was to make it explode in their face. This was a top-secret psychological operations program, and it was run by the Elite Studies and Observations Group, SOG. And the way they did it was as careful as it was diabolical. So what SOG operatives would do is they'd get their hands on enemy AK-47 rounds, and they would painstakingly pull them apart. They'd dump out the regular gunpowder and replace it with a substance that looked almost identical, but was actually a high explosive. Then they'd carefully put the bullet back together so it looked absolutely perfect, and they'd secretly plant these little bombs back into Viet Cong and North Vietnamese ammo caches. Now, just for perspective, a normal AK-47 fires with about 45,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. That's a lot. But the sabotaged round from Project Eldest Son, it generated 250,000 psi. That is over 5 times the pressure the rifle was ever designed to handle. The result was just instantaneous and horrific. The rifle would be completely obliterated. It basically turned into a pipe bomb that would either kill or horribly maim the soldier firing it. In that moment, the weapon became the enemy. But this idea of turning an enemy's own supplies against them, it's much, much older than the Vietnam War. Yeah, this kind of tactic actually builds on an idea from way before, taking us all the way back to the American Civil War, and this brilliant, low-tech device known as the coal torpedo. It was pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It was an iron shell, cast to look like a lump of coal, and then filled with gunpowder. They'd paint it black, roll it in coal dust. It looked exactly like the real thing. So simple, but devastatingly clever. Confederate spies would sleep these things into the giant Union coal piles. Then, some poor, unsuspecting Union soldier would shovel that coal right into the furnace of a steamship or a train engine. The explosion would rupture the boiler, crippling the Union's vital supply lines. So, okay, we've got exploding rifles in Vietnam. We've got exploding steam engines in the Civil War. What's the connection? Well, the physical damage was bad for sure, but the true target, the real goal of these weapons, was something much deeper. It was the human mind. And this, right here, this is the whole idea in a nutshell. The handful of rifles that actually blew up, or the few ships that were sunk, that wasn't really the point. The real weapon was the story, the rumor, the fear that spread like wildfire. Because all of a sudden, every Viet Cong soldier picking up a magazine has to wonder, is one of these rounds going to kill me? Every Union stoker on a steamship has to look at every single lump of coal with suspicion. And that doubt, that creates hesitation. It slows everything down, it completely erodes morale, and breaks the bond of trust between a soldier and his gear. That paranoia, that is the real weapon. Which leaves us with a really critical question for today, doesn't it? In an age of cyber warfare, of disinformation, of compromised global supply chains, where are the new coal torpedoes? Where are the sabotaged bullets hiding for us? Right now, in plain sight.